Hello, everyone. A shocking decision has just been made in the northern region, officially breaking the chains of geopolitical constraints that have lasted for the past 39 years. Finland, a country that once accepted living under the shadow of threats and asymmetric pressure, has now completely lifted the ban on nuclear weapons on its territory, triggering one of the most complex and risky nuclear scenarios in human history. Here are today's latest main headlines. Shocking news from Northern Europe. Finland has cast off the chains of neutrality, bringing American supernuclear bombs right up to Putin's doorstep. The appearance of the stealth superfighter F-35A, along with the American B-61B-12 tactical nuclear bombs, could this be the decisive blow that completely breaks Moscow's decades-long strategy of intimidation? The scythe of death rises from the deep sea, and the Kremlin is trapped at the border by a devastating formation. More than 5,400 nuclear warheads, along with two-thirds of Russia's ultimate retaliatory power, are lying in ambush in the icy depths of the ocean, just a military breath away from Finland's border. From the Russian Tu-160 bombers in the sky to the bizarre, unpredictable trajectories of the deadly Iskander missiles in the deep forests, Moscow has prepared for a scenario of total destructive war. The nuclear chessboard is extremely harsh, and Finland is determined to keep the location of its ultimate nuclear launch button secret, rendering all enemy counterattack efforts ineffective. This dark battle of wits not only turns Belarus into a frontline nuclear shield with its plasma stealth supermissiles, but also forces the superpower China to completely overturn all of its global strategic calculations. Here is the content and detailed analysis. Shock in Finland, Russia's nuclear showdown. Finland's unimaginable move keeps Putin awake at night. Ladies and gentlemen, the geopolitical landscape of Northern Europe has just witnessed a historic turning point that is reshaping the global security map, as Finland made a crucial decision to break free from the invisible chains that have bound the country for the past 39 years. During the Cold War, this icy northern land was forced to bow under the Soviet Union's pressure. However, on June 17, Helsinki bravely lifted the ban on nuclear weapons that had been stipulated in the Nuclear Energy Act of 1987, officially putting aside a history of reluctant neutrality. Now, Finland's nuclear policy is undergoing a fundamental overhaul, officially giving the green light to the import, transport, and storage of nuclear warheads on its territory. At present, Helsinki faces two ambitious and viable paths, one with France and the other with the United States. Most military strategists agree that Finland is more likely to move closer to the US on nuclear issues, as this latest step not only serves Helsinki's vital interests, but also aligns perfectly with Washington's ambition to fully contain Putin. If Washington succeeds in expanding its nuclear deployment into Finnish territory, it will tighten the encirclement and significantly neutralize the influence of Russia's nuclear deterrence in Northern Europe. Currently, the US government has already stationed nuclear-capable bomb storage facilities at a number of air bases in NATO allied countries, such as Belgium, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, and Turkey. Turning Finland into the next partner in this chain is an extremely crucial calculation, because it puts a 1,340-kilometer-long front line directly facing Russia into NATO's nuclear equation. If this scenario becomes reality, it will raise the question of which American weapons of mass destruction will be deployed and stationed in the Nordic region. The first name that experts think of is the B-6112 tactical gravity nuclear bomb. It is a key component of the nuclear umbrella that Washington is extending to protect its European allies. This modern bomb is equipped with highly accurate guidance systems, especially optimized for deep penetration missions to destroy underground bunkers, reinforced concrete, and the enemy's main command centers. Completely different from older generations of freefall bombs, the B-6112 is equipped with movable tail fins, allowing fighter jets to launch it from several kilometers away outside the enemy's air defense range, without having to fly directly over the target, ensuring an absolutely safe retreat route. Helsinki has long been quietly preparing superior combat platforms to integrate this advanced weapon. That is the fleet of 64 F-35A Lightning II stealth fighter jets that the Finnish Air Force has ordered and is currently receiving in phases. Military engineers have certified that this fifth-generation fighter is fully capable of carrying the B-61 bomb inside the aircraft's concealed internal weapon bays. The famous radar-absorbing stealth coating combined with the unique sensor fusion technology of the F-35A, allows it to easily penetrate the most fortified S-400 air defense systems of Russia and approach its target directly. This ideal technology pairing easily overcomes anti-access strategies. Anti-access and area denial have been used as a tool to pressure Europe for decades, sending a direct and intimidating military deterrence message. To realize that message, these tactical nuclear weapons are likely to be deployed by the US and Finland deep inside fortified underground bunkers at the two strategic air bases Rovaniemi and Kuopio di Salla. Rovaniemi Air Base is located in northern Finland, close to the Arctic region, providing an unparalleled range advantage to deliver a swift deterrent strike against Russia's strategic nuclear submarine bases on the Kura Peninsula. With large-scale logistical infrastructure and easy access as stipulated in the Defense Cooperation Agreement, DCA, between the US and Finland, Rovaniemi naturally becomes the top candidate. Death's scythe rises from the sea as the Kremlin faces an unparalleled destructive formation at the border. In another direction, the Kuopio di Salla Air Base, located near the Russian border, serves as a front line allowing tactical nuclear weapons to deliver an immediate response within minutes. Both of these bases have been and are being comprehensively upgraded to accommodate F-35A fighter jets and have a structure perfectly suited for building underground weapon storage facilities, ensuring absolute security and operational secrecy. In response to these military movements, the Kremlin certainly will not remain idle, as President Putin constantly seeks to showcase his massive arsenal of over 5,400 nuclear warheads as a warning to all of Europe. Historical reality shows that long before Finland lifted its nuclear ban, the region had already been accumulating some of the world's top weapons of mass destruction right behind this border. On military maps, two strategic areas are highlighted in red as the most concentrated centers of nuclear buildup, posing a direct existential threat to Finland. First and foremost is the Murmansk region on the Kola Peninsula, known as the heart of Russia's deterrence doctrine and strategy. This icy geographical region is only about 100 to 200 kilometers from the Finnish border, but it has one of the highest concentrations of nuclear weapons in the world. The ocean-going submarine bases at Gasievo, Vidaivo, and Olendia Bay form the backbone of the Northern Fleet's nuclear power at sea. This nuclear arsenal is not simply a regional deterrent, but also a strategic tool that allows Russia to break through the Geopolitics gap, connecting Greenland, Iceland, and the United Kingdom, opening the way to the Atlantic Ocean in the event of major upheaval. Besides the advantage of being submerged deep under the sea, geopolitical observers also cannot take their eyes off the windswept runway at Olendia Air Base. Here, the supersonic strategic bombers Tu-160 and the Flying Bear Tu-95MS are on constant standby, carrying nuclear cruise missiles under their massive wing pylons. They are among the most formidable deterrent forces in the Arctic. It doesn't stop there. The danger is multiplied many times over as Delta IV class and Borai class strategic nuclear submarines are always lurking beneath the icy waters, carrying intercontinental cruise missiles Sineva and Bulava. When launched from vertical silos beneath the ocean, these missiles soar upward, breaking through the atmosphere before descending onto their targets at unstoppable hypersonic speeds. Even more terrifying, each missile is equipped with MIRV technology, allowing them to destroy multiple targets in a single launch. The battlefield scenario becomes brutally clear if a full-scale nuclear war breaks out, with nearly two-thirds of the Kremlin's second strike retaliatory power lying in wait in these icy deep waters, right on Finland's doorstep. That harsh reality explains why Helsinki's decision to lift the nuclear ban is so vital. On another front, the land right up against Finland's southern border, the Republic of Karelia, is blazing up as the next vital stronghold. In retaliation for the eastern expansion of the NATO bloc, the Moscow government has ramped up the militarization of this area to an unprecedented level. All over the capital, Petrozavodsk and its surrounding areas, numerous new military bases have sprung up close together, becoming staging grounds for Iskander tactical missile brigades capable of carrying nuclear warheads. The most terrifying aspect of this weapon is not just the devastating power of its warhead, but its extremely unpredictable flight trajectory after leaving the launcher. However, some of Russia's secret military activities in the border area have finally been exposed. Satellite data collected throughout 2025 and 2026 show that massive barracks, fortified underground storage systems, and large-scale artillery positions have been continuously built around the village of Nova Viga. By deploying the newly established 44th Corps to be stationed here, the Kremlin is aiming to completely reverse the balance of power in Northern Europe. The core plan of Moscow is to gradually increase the size of the garrison along the border, from the initial 20,000 troops to a massive expeditionary force of 80,000 soldiers. The arrival of new artillery brigades and elite armored units in Kandalaksha is clear evidence that Russia has completed preparations for an occupying force, ready to act under the protection of the nuclear umbrella. All these massive moves from Moscow are the strongest response, showing that Finland's historic decision was absolutely correct and timely. The Arctic nuclear chessboard. In today's complex geopolitical landscape, President Vladimir Putin's European deterrence cards are not limited to Russian territory, as nuclear-capable weapons have also been heavily deployed to neighboring Belarus. There are two core strategic reasons driving the Kremlin leader to turn Belarus into his nuclear outpost. First, Finland's official accession to NATO has turned the Baltic Sea from an international body of water into an internal lake of the Western Military Alliance. Second, Russia's critically important naval base in the Kaliningrad region is now completely surrounded. To break and minimize the tightening grip from Poland, Lithuania, and now Finland, Moscow has activated a strategy to increase pressure on Europe from the east, turning Belarus into a solid external nuclear shield. The Iskander mobile ballistic missile systems assigned to the Belarusian military, along with a modernized fleet of Su-25 attack aircraft capable of carrying nuclear bombs, are the first dangerous spearheads. Not stopping there, Russia has raised the level of threat to a new height by deploying hypersonic missile systems to bases in Belarus throughout 2025 and 2026, a type of weapon that current Western air defense systems are almost powerless to intercept. When traveling at maximum speed, hypersonic missiles create a dense plasma cloud that envelops them, absorbing all radar waves and turning them into invisible phantoms against Western air defense scans. The relocation of these devastating missiles to Belarus is not purely a military tactic, but also a large-scale psychological warfare campaign aimed at testing the patience of European leaders by sowing deep nuclear fears among the civilian public. Joint nuclear exercises repeatedly simulate launching weapons of mass destruction, providing clear evidence of this psychological campaign. Facing such overwhelming and suffocating nuclear pressure from Russia, Finland understands that they cannot stand alone on the nuclear defense front. The international military strategic community unanimously agrees that Finland's decision to lift the ban is a masterstroke, completely reshaping the regional security equation. This move creates a powerful deterrent, forcing both Moscow and Minsk to immediately divert their attention from the southern and eastern battlefields to focus on the northern border. From now on, every base operation, missile system, and even training flights of the Finnish Air Force will be monitored by the Moscow regime more closely and anxiously than ever before. However, amid that international storm, the Helsinki government is still doing an excellent job of maintaining the secrecy of its strategic plans. Russian intelligence is completely in the dark, unable to gather any clues about which airbase the nuclear weapons will be stationed at, what the logistics routes are, or under what crisis scenarios they would be activated. This very strategic ambiguity is turning into the most terrifying weapon, pushing Russian defense planners into a state of extreme confusion and rendering all their counterattack calculations ineffective. When a decision from Helsinki has the potential to create a powerful shockwave that could shift the entire global military balance, the question arises, why did the Finnish government choose to sit back and wait for nearly 4 decades before taking this step? The answer lies deep in a dark chapter of history, where the shadow of suffocating military pressure from Russia surrounded and weighed heavily on the fate of the Finnish people as soon as the destructive flames of World War II were extinguished, dragging on bitterly for many decades. Fear was ingrained in the Finnish consciousness after decades under threat of unequal firepower. On one side were the Soviet Union's fleets and nuclear submarines at Longvik. On the other were the Leningrad military district's missile bases, always aimed at Helsinki. This icy northern nation was forced to survive by never crossing the invisible lines that Moscow had drawn in advance. But now the wheels of history have turned, and the old order has completely collapsed. Today's Finland firmly refuses to put itself at a disadvantage on the nuclear defense front. By officially becoming a full member of the alliance in April 2023, Finland has permanently buried the image of a nation submissive to the currents of the past. And the recent lifting of the nuclear ban is the final piece completing their comprehensive military transformation. Finland's historic decision is a bold strategic leap, breaking the chains of enforced neutrality that the nation has carried for over 80 years, fundamentally changing the security structure of Northern Europe. This icy land now not only stands up to protect its own survival, but also becomes the guardian of NATO's longest front line with Russia and serves as the steel gate shielding the entire Arctic frontier. So, in your opinion, will Finland's bold move to lift the nuclear ban help the country protect itself and maintain its independence?